you for being here. We're so excited to have you. I'm just gonna ask everybody, just as a matter of housekeeping, to start to turn off your phones or any devices that may make noise, just out of respect for the actors, the moderator, the writer, and your fellow audience members. All right, I am Betit Yen. I'm the president of the Film Lab, and we are so excited to have you here. I know we have students and we have some of our regulars here. So we have a very special event. It's our first ever event in collaboration with and for Partnership with Children. So we have the wonderful Julius here who's going to tell us a little bit about that program.
Cool. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Julius Stone. I am the program manager for the Career Development Program at Partnership with Children. We're a 24-year-old career services organization that focuses on careers and pathways in the arts. And if you look sort of in back of you, there are about 20 students here from different high schools throughout New York City that are walking different arts paths. And they are going to be with us for the next few weeks. And one of them will be joining Jennifer at Film Labs Inc. as a fellow intern. So we're super excited to be here, and thank you for having us.
Thank you so much, Julius. Yay. All right, I'm just gonna give you guys a little bit of background, but real quick, also I wanna let everybody know this event is being recorded. It is being live streamed. If you don't wanna be on camera, don't step in front of the piano stand. Once you step in front of the piano stand, you're on camera. And audio from anywhere in the room will be picked up. So just keep that in mind. Recording, streaming. All right, awesome. And afterwards, if you want, please take pictures in front of the Step and Repeat. Tag us at ASM Film Lab. We'll like you and tag you back. All right, so the Film Lab. For those of you that don't know what the Film Lab is, we are a not-for-profit. We've been around since 1998, and we are dedicated to the promotion and the support of gender and racial parity, equality, in the arts and entertainment media, specifically television and film. Why? There's a lot of worthy charities out there. There's a lot of concerns. There's a lot of serious stuff going on in the world. Is film, TV really that important? Is equality in the arts, is representation that important? Well, we posit to you that it is extremely important, critically important even, because entertainment media is the method by which we as a people present ourselves. We tell the world who we are as a culture, what our place is in society, what our roles are. We tell the world this, but more importantly, we tell ourselves this. And when we see stories only through one lens, we do not get a nuanced or complex view. And when we see mainstream media showing us only one story over and over and over again, or we see certain faces, certain voices, and certain stories be stereotyped over and over, marginalized, or erased altogether. It creates the widespread perception, not just in the world at large, but within our own hearts and at home, that we, and by we I mean underrepresented people, do not belong. We're not real Americans. We do not have the same worth, and we do not have the same value. That, my friends, is extremely important. And that is why we need to create a nuanced, complex, and heterogeneous view in entertainment media that more accurately reflects the actual world, not only that we actually live in, but that we want to live in. Okay, so it's a big task. How do we do it? The Film Lab does a lot of different things. We do education, we do outreach, we do programming, we do screenings, Q&As. We do the famous annual 72-hour shootout filmmaking competition, which I hope everyone will compete in. You can be under 18. For 3 days, we shoot, edit, score, everything, our own short films. And the filmmakers compete for screen tests, money, industry mentorships, all kinds of exciting things. And actually, maybe the intern that we get will be working on that competition. So this program tonight is called Unfinished Works. Unfinished Works is a program that's been going on since 1998. And it is for screenwriters of color or screenwriters from underrepresented groups writing by, for, and about stories, voices for underrepresented peoples. It is an unfinished work by definition, so that means that what you're seeing needs to be edited, it needs to be improved, and that's why the writer is here to workshop their piece. We have professional actors who will be reading the piece, and a surprise actor from Partnership with Children that Samantha will be choosing. No pressure, which we're very excited about. And The actors are going to do a cold read. So for those of you unfamiliar with that term, that means that the reading is not rehearsed and that it is not directed. And that's intentional, because to help the writer develop their work, we want them to see what different kinds of people, what their visceral, what their gut reactions to the words on the page are, without any help, without any preparation. But just keep that in mind as you're watching. All right, so then afterwards, we're gonna have the incredible Cheryl L. Davis, who, well, Cheryl's amazing. I'm gonna tell you more about Cheryl in just a moment. But the incredible Cheryl L. Davis will moderate. And that's what's so fun about this program, is that you, as the audience, become a part of the writer's process. Your participation is integral. So this isn't just something where you're sitting in the audience watching and you're like, okay, good job. This is something where we want you to participate. We want you all to tell the writer what, from your viewpoint, is important. What worked? What didn't work? Why? And you can actually be in the driver's seat. It's an opportunity for you to be a part of the creative process, for you to influence the development of where this script goes. And after that, we're gonna open it to Q&A. So you can ask, I know everybody here is interested in careers in the arts. You can ask anybody here any questions you want based on their bios, not any question, and just anything you want. So without further ado, I'm gonna introduce Cheryl. Cheryl, I have known for years and years. She's one of my favorite people in the whole world, and she has helped Film Lab for many, many years. She's basically a superhero. She's a practicing attorney. She is an award-winning playwright. She's won an adult, maybe more than one, many adulthood awards. She's won so many awards, I can't even count them all. She's won an Emmy for her daytime writing.
WGA award, nominated, haven't won.
Nominated for an Emmy and a WGA award. And she also wrote my personal favorite episode of Law and Order SV. So I'm going to turn it over to Cheryl because
I'm going to turn it back at y'all. Thank y'all for coming today and taking part in this process. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce our wonderful performers. We have Julia Morgantini, who's very happy to be working with Film Lab. You see all of their bio information down here. We have the wonderful Jennifer Betit Yen. And we have the character of Mona, who will be selected by Stephanie from Partnership with Children. So if you want to come up and take somebody?
we have a hat you can
Drum
try
roll, please. Now, Mona, get warmed up.
Danika?
Yay, Danika! Come on now! You're the next contestant.
May the odds be ever in your favor. So
We
just
have-
have a seat and a script and a lotion if you want.
Thank you. Wonderful Danika reading the character of Mona. We have Malabanan reading the role of Norman, and Gregory Jenkins reading the roles of Abdul and Lucy. So we have our writer here in the front, George's Bridget.
Oh, give him a welcome there.
So let us get started.
Hi, everybody. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Welcome. Tonight we're going to read The Noise Complaint, written by Julius Bridges, an unfinished work to be workshopped by the Film Lab. As you listen to this piece, please think about what you like, what you don't like, and why, and be prepared to share your thoughts and feedback to help the writer proceed on their creative journey. Interior, Norman's apartment, day. Norman finishes a breakup call with girlfriend Nia as he prepares to leave for work on a construction site.
I figured that. The way you've been holding me, quiet all the time. So I invested 4 years, put my singing career on hold. Yeah, I gotta go too. Take care of you.
Norman grabs his keys and his work bag and exits the apartment. Interior, Mona's bedroom, night. Mona in bed talking to Agent Julaine.
One last thing, reminder, fitting for that new designer's fashion show at 11 a.m. Call me after.
I'll be there. Bye, Julian.
Mona drifts off to sleep and is awakened by a loud banging noise from outside of her bedroom window. Then a male voice singing, and sleepily she stumbles out of bed.
My foot. You wait, I'm not playing with you. Can't sleep.
Mona opens the window and yells out.
Shut up!
Fade to sunrise. Mona, wearing black leggings, goes to the kitchen where her mother, Quinn Jackson, is making coffee. Quinn is dressed for work.
Good morning, Momo. Morning, Mom.
Coffee?
Mona kisses Quinn on the cheek.
Coffee? Anything?
No, I'll pick up something from Lucy's spot. I mean, Abdul's deli.
Pick up dinner. I'm not cooking, and your dad's still out of town.
Mona nods and exits. Interior, Abdul's Deli, day. Mona enters Abdul's Deli. A 40-something, average height and built Middle Eastern man stands behind the counter. This is Abdul. The workers are called Lucy's. Lucy, in front of the counter, chats with Abdul. Norman holds an energy drink and a bag of chips, humming.
Hi, Lucy. What's going on?
She puts her hand on his shoulder.
Which one are you again? What's your name?
The small Hispanic 20-something blushes and smiles.
Hi, Lucy. You wheatgrass?
Oh, my bad. You saw that, Abdul? Say you didn't see that.
Norman interrupts.
Hey,
Abdul nods.
I saw that. You skipped the line. Real sneaky.
Abdul tries to diffuse.
Give the lady a wheatgrass shot. She, lady. He, patient. Nice man.
The Lucy makes the wheatgrass shot.
I don't know about all that, but it's all good.
The Lucy gives the wheatgrass shot to Mona.
See? I'm a lady.
She's a lady.
Mona
Oh,
turns
she's
to
a
exit.
lady.
She recognizes Norman singing from outside of her window. It makes Mona unexplainably happy. Freeze. Close-up frame. A frame on Mona's smiling face. 3 pictures display of Norman and Mona eating pizza, showing an engagement ring, and eating a wedding cake. The end.
Thank you all for that wonderful reading. Thank you, Georges, for that work. And to go back to what you said in the beginning, that this is a part of our process and a part of George's process to help develop the work. So let's start off with what did you like about the work? What resonated? Yes.
Although Danika was very nervous, she thought this would be weird.
Wonderful. Yay, Danika. That is one of the things you need to learn in the entertainment business. The show must go on. And yes.
I love the setup of the environment, like when the actor he got up and took his keys. I love the emotion, just the raw emotion that came out of it. It was such a small action, but he managed to make it work.
Yeah.
I like, even though we had like less stage direction, the actors knew what to do in their place on the stage with improvisation. So they gave it their all, so I like that.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And I wanted to comment on the writing. I really liked how it started with a breakup and then ended with a new sort of romance that kind of showed a revelation and showed development.
Good. Yes.
I just feel like that when service a new character gets introduced rather than just like splitting a new character at us, so that we know who is who and what is happening.
Very good. Yes.
Can I comment, Jennifer?
Of course.
Oh yeah. I like how even though she had like 2 roles to play, you could tell that there were 2 different characters because of like the way she acted it out.
Any other comments? Any other things that you like that resonated with you? Okay, great. Now let's go on to ask if you have any questions about the piece. Is there anything you'd like to know more about in terms of like what's going on stage? Yes.
I would assume that they are in sort of the same block or sort of the same apartment building. That was my assumption, but I wasn't quite sure if it was the same apartment building or if it was like adjacent or what neighborhood particularly. I didn't know if we were in Harlem or if I was in Brooklyn. That was the one that I was a little confused about.
Okay, I mean, because you feel like knowing that, that would inform how you perceive the piece and what's going on, the action. Great. Okay, and yes?
I'm curious to know what made Mona end up liking Norman near the end, even though she was annoyed by him at the start.
Okay, so you wanted to see more about what drew her to Norman.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
This question is more for the screenwriter because I like what he wrote with the stage direction and how he make the characters, even though it was a short one, we could saw their personality and how they like. So I was just wondering how the screenwriter came up with it. What was the process for it?
That is, let's wait till the end of the Q&A. We can ask the screenwriter, should the screenwriter want to get into that. But, okay, so in terms of, yes.
I have a question about the age of the characters. Because for Norman, I noticed from the tone he spoke with and the job he worked, that he was a little bit older age. But I wasn't so sure about Mona's. I was assuming probably around like college, but I wasn't sure.
Okay. Okay, so that's going to have to do with the casting, but it's good to know that depending upon the age of the character, you're going to look at where they are in their lives and look at how they relate to each other a little differently. So, okay. So, any other questions or curiosities? Okay. Is there anything, I understand that you wanted to know what drew Mona to Norman. Is there anything more you'd like to see in the piece? Something say, ooh, I'd love it if. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
I wanted to know more about the background of the characters, like why did Norman break up at the beginning, and I kind of wanted to see more like drama with that, because I think it would entice the audience more to have that kind of drawn in drama that could possibly later on in the whatever series or show this is, it could possibly make it more enticing to the audience to keep watching.
Okay. So I'd like to know a little bit more about Norman and Nia at the beginning.
Curious about Jelaine. I know when Mona, I think Mona referred to Jelaine as Agent Jelaine or something. Why is she an agent?
Oh, what does Mona need an agent for?
Yeah. Oh, wait.
Is that the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, is it like a work agent? Is it like the, spy agent?
Okay. That'd be interesting. Mona's a spy, maybe. But yeah, any other hands that I missed? Yes.
I wanted to know what happened to Mona's dad. Like, we got barely any information on him. All that, like, he's out somewhere on a trip or something like that.
Okay. So since it's a short piece, we have room, should the writer choose to expand, he has room to expand if he wants to. So, okay. Any other things that you were dying to know about the world of this piece? Yes. Okay. Okay. Oh, yes.
A little bit more extension of her being annoyed with the singing, to just get more of that, like, oh, this guy's singing every night, like something that can tie that in a little bit more, that when she recognizes it, like, oh, that's him.
So you'd like to hear more of that so that you can spot that this, when she spots, like, oh, that's the same guy.
Yeah, that we all can kind of realize that at the same time.
Okay. Okay. So anything else? Yes.
I guess I know it's like a short scene, but like I guess I would like to know what type of relationship Norman and Mom had. Like, is it good? Is it bad? Is it in the middle? Like, I know it's like a short scene, but I guess I want it to be stretched out a little bit. Not too long.
Well, that's a part of what this process is, to say, like, what would the audience like to see? And what can the screenwriter gather from these questions and comments? So awesome, thank you. Yes?
Interaction with the coffee store. I was seeing where not sudden, but if this was as like a TV series, I would have liked to see probably more smaller, minor interactions between characters. Maybe a knock on his door for like a noise complaint, or maybe just bumping or waving or saying good morning to each other as they pass down the halls. Or maybe they notice each other regularly at the same coffee shop. It was more like them interacting before she slowly starts having these daydreams about the character and the romance with Sylvia.
Okay. I thought I saw no? Okay. And anybody back there? And does the screenwriter have any specific questions you'd like me to pose to the audience, or like to pose to the audience yourself?
Let's see. Yeah, I'd just like to know, overall, what did you like? What didn't you like? If it were longer, what would you have liked to have seen?
Not as a, like a couple way, but as a person. Like, Mona was like pretty annoyed how his personality was going to go annoying to her. So I would like to see him like try to change with her and like kind of sense grow with her.
And yes. Mhm.
I would say that I feel like a few more establishing scenes would help flesh out the story more, such as interacting with the characters or establishing places like cafes and the apartment itself.
Yes.
Yeah, I also agree with those things that I feel like we're like time jumping a lot. First it was the afternoon, then it was night, now it's the morning. I'm like, okay, I still haven't processed what happened before that. Like, so I guess like making it, like I said before, making it like a little longer so people can maybe process like the scene. It doesn't have to be too long, but like, stretch it out a bit.
Yeah, so I know this is like unfinished works, and I guess that's what it is. But I was saying like, basically adding to what they said, character development was rushed, but some people might like that. Like me, I like that because like even though the scene was annoying, and then now they got married at the end, that's pretty cool. It'll just leave a sense of mystery, and that's what I get.
Did you have a question?
Yes.
Norman?
Yeah, I felt like a slow burn kind of weird because I saw what you guys were going with at the beginning and then at the end. I felt like at first it could have been like, not enemies to lovers, but like she's annoyed by him, she doesn't like him at first, but she slowly starts feeling things for him, which would add the ending to make sense in a way.
So you mean more of a like everyone's saying, like more like of a relationship between each other, developing and leading up to the.
Yeah, because all of the acting, I really like the acting, and felt like acting instead of like characters interacting with each other, if that makes sense. Because it was like, I know those are actors, but are they characters or are they people? Because when you're acting, you're trying to perceive characters.
I wanted to ask a question. Is anybody familiar with like either the old movie A Shop Around the Corner or the musical She Loves Me? Yes. Because I was going to posit like that's the kind of situation where two characters think they know each other, but they connect on another level through writing to each other, and they don't know each other in real life. So you have like two sorts of separate interactions, and then they finally join at the end. Is the kind of thing that you can see like where a character like, oh, I hate him, but I'm in love with the guy that I'm writing to, not knowing that I'm the same person. So I'm just positing like there are different ways in which character relationships can be drawn and portrayed. So I'm going to ask if anybody think of any other ways in which characters can connect like that. Yes.
I was going to say that the song, oftentimes the music captures the audience in, right? So maybe the build-up of this one song that annoyed her at first keeps being sort of repeated, and it almost gets stuck in the head of the audience. So you get to this point where like maybe it's the lyric here, or maybe it's the beginning of the song here, or maybe it's like wherever that person is song, you sort of get the build up and to the point where the main character, Mona, starts to sing along. So there's almost this like, I'm falling in love with the voice, but I don't know who's the singer. And I think that that would make the like that magic of like being in the corner store being like, oh shit, that's him. Like that's the voice. So that's kind of what I
Can I ask the screenwriter a question? Or
It's up to the screenwriter.
Yes.
I was just curious to know what was the inspiration behind this piece, because I feel like depending on what you wanted to portray, you can like enhance like things like this.
Well, the inspiration is was my parents. My dad was older than my mom, and they met, and similar to this, where she didn't like him at first. She thought he was annoying, and so it's roughly based on the story of my parents and how they met.
It's kind of a familiar romantic trope. Oh, I hate him, he's icky. Oh, now I love him. Yes.
I felt like some of the characters, like their interaction should be a little bit more like enhanced at first. So like in the beginning of the work, I feel like if you like had like initial knowledge of what they had like backstories towards each character, like you said, you base it off of your parents, so you could like base it off of their like backstory but change it a little bit so it's not completely like your parents, and it gives like a greater like, I don't know how to say it, but it's like a greater concept of who they are and how they became this person and how they can eventually change.
Actually, can I ask, was it his singing that caused your mom to fall in love with him later on? Or like, what was the
It's my
sort of
dancing.
catalyst? Because I think that's actually a really beautiful piece that would be worth highlighting. Maybe it was the song, but like, that seems like a pivotal moment that you could really bring to life.
Well, that's what I added differently. He didn't sing at all.
Oh, okay. Can I ask what in real life caused her to change her mind about it?
Huh?
What in real life caused your mom to change her view of her father?
I think it was a lot of factors. Being that he was older, he was able to show her things that she didn't really know. She was new to New York, and so he was able to help her in that way. And yeah.
Yeah, I think even some small elements of him being a gentleman and letting her cut in line could be like part of like, all right, she's new to town, you know, like I'll let the young lady go kind of thing. Or, you know, I think you could lean into some of those elements of him, you know, being sort of a wiser, more generous person.
But I'll say one thing: it was actually pizza. She had never had pizza before.
I mean, a great New York pizza can change hearts and minds.
Yes, that sometimes in works of theater or film or whatever, the smallest object can make a difference to how people respond to things. So actions like eating pizza, actions like two people reaching for the same ring at the same time. There are ways you can portray dramatic action without dialogue, just you see the people like responding to things differently. Yeah. Hello.
Since since the setting is technically New York and the deli, I would feel like they should include a cat. Just for the
Maybe. And Gudger could wear a mask.
We don't typecast here.
Sleeping on the bread, right? Sleeping
Yeah.
on the bread. We'll take a cat.
It sounded like that was something that people liked, that it's a very familiar, recognizable world for New Yorker. Yes. Anybody else have any responses to the screenwriter's question?
Yes.
I just want to make sure you know that we all think it's good. We're just adding some more to it. You know, I think it's really amazing what you did for the unfinished work.
Thank you.
Concept of it all. I think it's just all that we're just building on what you've already had. So I think it's very relatable.
And I think the fact that people have questions and have comments and want to see more is a sign that there's something there that interests them, that they're enjoying.
I want to ask, what is the thought process behind writing a scene for any sort of media?
Thought process. Well, I try to base things on sometimes on things that I see. I try to observe people. I observe them and I try to like if I see someone that's on the subway and I try to wonder where they're going, what they like, what they don't like, what's their story. And then I develop from there. And then I just add and add until there's like a storyline.
So for the other projects, like were there people like that inspired the characters?
Yeah, like music. Music is always a good thing that inspires me and helps me to write. But more so, it's listening to people, like listening to how people actually talk, like yeah, like in the street, on the subway, or any place, and then the words that they say, like if it's supposed to be someone that's really like upscale or something like that, then I would try to listen to like let's say a woman on the Upper East Side or something like that, or if it was like like a gangster or something like that, then I would try to like on the subway listen to how two guys are like interacting on the subway or walking down the street if I'm walking near them, exactly how they talk and how they feel about different things.
So you think that bringing normal human beings like see how they interact brings like the story to like a life form, like it brings life to it.
Mhm. Yeah, so for me, and in acting, because I basically started out as an actor. A large part of it is being a good listener. So I think for writing, it's pretty much the same. Being a good listener, listening to how people interact with each other.
And I think that's a very good point in terms of the fact that people speak differently. Everybody speaks differently. And dialogue can help you tell a lot about the character and the person. And the more specific you are as a writer, the more specific your character is going to be. And when I was in school, that was actually a writing exercise we had, was to go away over the course of the week and listen and be able to duplicate exactly like 3 sentences of conversations that we had heard. And if they didn't make sense, there, for whatever, toss in all the nonsense syllables, because that's how people speak, but it was to hone your ear to hear how people actually speak. So that's the kind of thing you can do, is like what Georges was saying. He listened to how people actually speak, not just how you type out perfect sentences, but how people actually speak. And that can help you develop your sense of character, both as a writer and as a performer. But yeah.
Would you say that traveling to different places affects like your mindset towards the whole work, not just for the characters?
Yes.
I think it's somebody over here. Yeah, it's you.
What is something you want us to take away from the room today?
I'm sorry.
What is something that you want us to take away from the room today?
I want you to be inspired, and I want you to believe that you can make things happen, no matter how small your space is. Like, your mind is much bigger than any space that anyone puts you in. So I want you to take that away with you.
On that note, I'd like to open up if you have any questions for anybody else up here. So we have all sorts of disciplines up here to ask questions. Yeah.
For the actors, I've heard that before acting, a lot of actors would like to, I don't know what it's called, but like they like to like live the life that the characters will live. So they will like fully go into character. So I want to like know what's some tips for you guys and how did it work and how did it affect it, your role?
For me, my name is Cheryl again. I'm still fairly a new actor, and I've been 2 years now. I landed accidentally into it, and that is a great question because I was experiencing a similar incident that happened to me when I had a woman I was waiting for maybe 2 years because I was in love with her, and we reconnected, and then just wasn't meant to be. So I literally, as soon as I read that, I was like, oh, this reminds me of that time. So I was trying to really live that experience. I'm still working on it. I'm not that great at it, but it's a work in progress.
Oh, so I think you're referring to method acting, right? Yeah. So method acting is a little bit controversial. Some people are really into it and they go full force. Like, there's a story where Denzel Washington was preparing for a role, and I think he was playing I want to say, I can't remember if it was a carpet salesman or a carpet cleaner, but he actually joined a company. Like, can you imagine? Denzel Washington shows up at your door and he's like, I'm here to clean your carpet. You'd be like, all right, well, great. But he really, got into that role. So there are other actors that say that that is not always the best idea, because especially if the character is a character that's really damaged or really sad, then you put yourself at great risk, because if you get too deeply into that, it will become you. And I was actually kind of thinking about Cheryl, because she used to write for soap operas, and the soap opera actors have the highest rates of depression of all actors. And when you think about what they're doing every day, these are very dramatic shows. My husband just died, and my daughter is like kidnapped, and I'm now taken hostage. But you have to bring yourself to tears and to fury over and over, day after day, and it's hard to leave that at the studio and not take it home with you. So method acting is very interesting, but kind of like Rose said, I think a lot of actors will take experiences that they've had in their own personal lives, and they'll try to say, okay, if this character was me, if I was born into this situation in this body, how can I fill it? How can I embody it? So you keep the essence of yourself, but you add in all these other things.
So building on what Jennifer was saying, my first acting teacher was a protege of Strasberg, and they had a different take of method. So sometimes you'll hear method actors, they become the character and they go home and they're still in character. You have to call them by the character's name and all that. And I was taught that there is no character. And it's kind of like what Jen was saying, it's you in the given circumstances. So your first thing is you have to understand the given circumstances, right? You got to be really good at script analysis. You have to understand where you are, when you are, why you are, and it's all there in the script, right? And it is part of finding where you have a match with the character, but then you have to kind of lift up above that. You can't pull the character down to you. My teacher would say you lift up to the character, and you can't judge the character. So if you're playing a murderer, you have to find that murderer within yourself. It doesn't mean you're going to go out and murder, but how many times have you ever said, I could kill them? Well, where's that coming from, right? So you got it in you, right? So, and then you create, through rehearsal process, you create the energy around that to support that, and then with the director, you work on what are the appropriate actions, and the language tells you where you need to go and what to do, right? And so it's all road mapped out for you, but there's a lot of collaboration that goes on between your imagination, the writer's imagination, and the director's imagination. And all three kind of come together in the rehearsal process.
Want to add anything?
I think the goal and the way I look at it, because I'm more on the writing, producing, directing side, but when I'm working with actors, what I think about in terms of, I think that our goal is you want to be as realistic as possible. That's what gets the audience involved in a story. It has to look like real life. So from the actor's standpoint, every two actors will approach the same role two different ways. But it has to start with, okay, what's my approach? What characteristics are in this do I see in this character, and then I'm going to pick a direction and go, and then whatever I do has to be realistic to that direction that I've picked. If the character, my take on it is that the character is neurotic, then everything that I do has to kind of support that. Or if the character is kind of morose and lazy or whatever, just be consistent. It just has to look like real life, and I think that's what makes audience connects to a work.
But all those judgments have to be supported by the lines. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to do this because I feel like it. It has to be in the given circumstances. It has to be in the dialogue.
And like you said earlier, in collaboration with the director.
Yeah, and the director might say, yeah, no, try this, or pull it back, or I need more, right? Because the other thing, so I'm more theater-based, so it's different with film. So the theater might not be reality-based. It might be really over the top, right? So it's also who are you talking to, what do you want, what do you want to inspire in that person? And it's not really about you, it's about what's happening over there. And you might have to get that person to give you something. So it's always it's a very giving, very generous medium. It's never here. It's always you're sending something, you're giving something. So it's a lot of energy, even if you are being real. In film, it's micro, but it's very full. And on stage, it's macro, but it still has to be full. It can't just be empty gestures. Everything has to be very specific in what you're doing.
And kind of piggybacking on that, the energy is really important. And when you're working with other characters, their energy is really important. Because I don't know, are any of you actors? Yeah. So you know that you've been in scenes before. And if you're working with somebody that's just not giving you anything, somebody that's just like, I'm performing, look at me, oh, you're here, go away. It's really hard for you. It's hard for you to get into the scene. It's hard to, but if you're working with an actor that's like looks into your eyes, like listens to you as you speak, doesn't just wait for you to parrot the line you've been memorized, but listens, digests that and responds, even though those lines are already written, the energy you get is so phenomenal, and the scene that you can do is 1,000 times better. So it really is, like Julia was saying, and like Greg was saying, like Ro was saying, it's a collaboration. Like it is a team effort. It's not just like me. And that's really, really important. And then in terms of director and writer and all the different voices that will come together to work a piece. And like you guys have just worked George's piece.
To all the actors, what is like your favorite part of acting? Like, what made you be like, this is what I came here for, and this is why I'm staying here?
So I'm Filipino American. I was born in the Philippines, and growing up, I dabbled in the idea of entertainment. However, being Filipino and being Asian American, my parents focused on go to school, get a good job, and be a nurse.
And now he's a nurse.
No, not. But I never saw anyone that looked like me on screen, and so I wasn't inspired by enough, and I didn't see representation for myself, and so it kind of just I just focused on being an athlete, and that's really. But now the reason why I became an actor is because I really just wanted my social media presence to be better, because I saw that, to be honest, because I saw that TikTok and Instagram reels were like, oh, I need to get better on screen. And so I hired an acting coach, and he's like, you got a good look. I'm like, shut up, I don't want to act, you know. But he just kept bugging me, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, here we are. But I think one of my first acting coaches said, it's like, you're standing for thousands of people. And for me, that made sense, because like I'm standing for someone that looks like me, that may be of the age that I was like looking for, like representation, you know. So for me, it's definitely not for the money, but it's definitely like a passion project where I'm able to make a difference and be a voice for people that look like me.
I think it's the opportunity to be more. And it's an opportunity, the level of creativity and expression that you can have that you don't get to do every day, walking around, even sitting with your friends having a cup of coffee. Because even if you're playing a scene where you're sitting around with a couple of friends having a cup of coffee, it's still more. It's more presence, more listening, more awareness, and the imagination and the creativity that can kind of flow through you. That you breathe life into something that you probably don't know that you're doing that every day in your life anyways, but this is a heightened way of breathing life into something that's incredibly fulfilling. So, you know, like a soul expression, like why do you want to be in the arts? You know, if I'm gonna put this out to you guys. If it's for fame and money, then I think you might want to rethink your.
Well, you could be an influencer then. You don't have to be.
Right, but you know, so it's what do you want to share? What do you want to give? And then what of yourself do you want to discover? Because the more you commit to it, the more you have to open up doors within yourself and step into that room and have the courage to share it. And that's really hard. I mean, I think anybody in any artistic medium that puts it out there you have to have great courage. And you can't be limited by judgments of who or what you think. You have to come above that. You have to do it anyways and put it out there. And and that's very exciting, and it can be very challenging, very difficult, but that's where a career comes in. The career isn't like, hey, I'm on a billboard. The career is, how do I every day more and more courage, more and more of me shows up, more and more of my authentic self comes through and is in what I'm doing. That's a career. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think also, you know, when we think about stories and we think about the consistent stories we see and the lenses through which they see them, and this is kind of what I was talking about earlier, but stories, our TV, our film, our media, they proclaim our attitude towards reality, and they shape, they govern the way we perceive and we organize our world, the facts around us. So if we consistently, Ro, for example, never saw his own image. So he just felt like he didn't belong. He felt like he wasn't a part of things. So in becoming a storyteller, you have a lot of impact and you have a lot of influence. And I'll share just one. This is a very small example, but I was on a set with, it was probably like half and half white actors and half non-white actors. And the director was a white male. And he kept referring to the white actors as Americans and the non-white actors just as the other actors. So he'd be like, can the Americans go over here?
Was he American or was he from?
We were all Americans.
That's so
weird. At any rate,
never
he meant nothing bad by it. He was not being nefarious, he wasn't trying to be racist, but he just kept saying Americans. And I've heard people of color also say Americans when really what they mean is white people. Race is one thing, nationality is a totally different thing. We can be Americans regardless of what our racial background is, right? So I didn't want to call him out and embarrass him while we were on set, so I waited till there was a break. And then I went and I was like, hey, can I just chat with you? And he was like, of course. So I said, hey, you know, I've noticed that when you're referring to the white actors, you're calling them Americans, and when you're referring to the rest of us, you're not. And I just wanted to point out that American is a nationality, it's not a race, and what you're really talking about is race. And it's a little offensive because you're suggesting that those of us who are not white are not Americans. Well, we are. And he was mortified. To his credit, he went bright red, he was horrified, he was shocked, he apologized profusely. And I was like, don't worry, just like, I'm just telling you for going forward. So then we came out, he apologized to everybody and didn't do it again. And I thought, and so one of my friends said, you really shouldn't have done that because you embarrassed him and he probably will never want to work with you again. You should always just be quiet. You should always just go with the flow. Well, this was years ago, and I still work with this director. I love this director. He's a really good person. And I think sometimes, so it's two things. One, to speak up. Two, to speak up in the right way. Because I think a lot of times we get very aggressive, and sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes we need to be aggressive, but sometimes it doesn't work. And if you can kind of try to think of it from somebody else's perspective, and then approach them in the hopes that they're a good person at their heart, and like maybe they just don't know some stuff, it's really helpful. So that was a situation that started out, and I think if I hadn't have said something, I would have felt really cruddy about the whole experience and everything. And so being able to speak up and then having that received in a good way was very helpful.
It's great that you did that. I mean, that's unfortunate. I've never heard of that. That's just awful. So I'm really glad you said something. No, really, that's just like mind-boggling. I don't get it.
And I think it also made sense that you waited to do it with him privately, because had you done it in front of other people, you might have got a different response.
Yeah, he might have gotten all that.
But I wanted to make a quick point about representation and the importance of that. I don't know if anybody of you watched the limited series Watchmen a few years back, and the fact that I know it was Tom Hanks and a number of other people said that it wasn't until they saw that they realized that this Tulsa race massacre thing was a real thing that happened. First they thought, oh, they made it up for the show, and then they realized, oh no, this is reality. So when you think about the importance of stories out there that can introduce people to not just characters, but historical facts and other things that they might not have been aware of otherwise. So that's just another element of storytelling and representation. So, yeah.
I mean, this is a question for everyone. How did you find this company? Like, how did you find it?
I dragged them all in. I can tell you how I found it. So I didn't start it or anything. Film Lab was started back in 1998 by a bunch of writers, a bunch of frustrated writers of color who were writing stories by, for, and about people of color. And they were frustrated because they kept sending they were really good writers already. They were doing this professionally, they were getting paid for their work, and they were sending their movies into studios, and studios were like, oh, I love your script, it's the best script ever, we're gonna cast it with, and then it was all white actors. And they were like, so they were frustrated and upset, so they created a little screenwriting group just to like workshop their pieces with each other and basically just to vent. But then they were like, people pay for workshop processes, and we're all professional writers and we could help each other out, so let's do that more formally. And then they're like, we know so many professional actors. Why don't we bring professional actors in to read? So this program that you're watching today was actually the first thing the Film Lab ever did way back in the 90s. And then they incorporated, and then they started doing their filmmaking competitions, and they did many other things. But when I first moved to New York from LA, and I was acting, and one of my friends said, have you heard of the Film Lab? You need to go, they do readings all the time. You could be an actor in one of the readings, you'll meet all these writers, you'll network. And I was like, okay. So I came with my little resume, and I was amazed by the people. They were so phenomenal. Like, everybody was really nice. Like you guys, they were very open, they were collaborative, they wanted to work together. And what I loved about it was that they wanted to help others and bring other people up. It wasn't just individually focused, it was team-based. So that's how I discovered it. And then I just dragged these guys in.
I think we have about another 2 minutes. I'm going to take one more question, but people aren't running out right away. So wait, you were pointing?
When you joined film, was there any type of role that was considered stereotype for your nationality or your race, considered offensive? Because I know there's a lot of occasions like that.
I have so many stories. I have so many stories about it. It's terrible. When I graduated from college, I had somebody tell me, oh, I was waiting, because you can go out for open calls, for the Broadway shows and stuff, and everybody kept being like, you're here for Miss Saigon, you're here for Miss Saigon, you're here for Miss Saigon. I'm like, no, and no, and no, and no. Thank you guys. And you even internalize it yourself, because I got called for, what was it? This was so long ago, but it's it's a classical play that's set in the New Orleans Garden District. Help me.
Streetcar?
It wasn't Streetcar. It was. Oh my God. I can see the scripts. I'm just looking at him because he actually went to the show. But I was called for the lead female, and this is traditionally a white family in a very white area. It's in a white playwright. It was a Tennessee Williams play.
Yeah, it was one of his most famous
Oh.
ones.
I was Kathy.
Streetcar Named Desire.
No,
it's not Streetcar. Glass Menagerie.
Keep going, I'll look it up.
Oh, okay. All right. So anyway, but it was a play that typically you would not expect to see a woman that wasn't white in the lead role, and I was called for the lead role, and just like how we internalize these things, I was like, oh, well, it must be some niche performance. It must be some like Suddenly Last Summer. So when I went in, I didn't even do the New Orleans Garden District or anything because I figured, oh, it must be a modern version. So I just went in and did a modern take on her, and the director was like, "Did you read the play?" And I'm like, "Yes, I read the play." He's like, "Do you know where it takes place?" I was like, "Yes." He's like, "Do you think that in this time and in this place people talk the way you're talking?" And I was like, I was like, wait, so this isn't some sort of modern version? He's like, this is the classical version. I'm like, and you want to see me for this role? He's like, that's why we called you in. I'm like, give me 5 minutes. And I went out and like, I actually called his mother because she has a Southern accent. And I was like, just talk to me so I can listen to you so I can copy this. I have 5 minutes. And I went back in, but then I did the play. But it was really fun and it was great. And it's really nice. It's very refreshing for those of us who are often typecast to not be. It's so exciting. We're like, oh my God, this is fantastic. But there are also, I'll tell one, it's possibly inappropriate. I'm like looking at the live stream like, should I tell this story? It's possibly inappropriate. But when I first moved out to LA, my agent sent me out for a commercial no, it wasn't a commercial, I'm sorry, it was a TV show. But it was the character was a Vietnamese manicurist. I am not a manicurist, nor am I Vietnamese, which is fine because you can play like all different kinds of characters. But I was like, are they looking for something authentic? And he said, yes. And I said, well, I'm not a manicurist, and I mean, look at I'm not. And I'm not Vietnamese. And he's like, oh no, it's no problem. It's no problem. They don't care. And I'm like, okay, great. So I got there, and the whole room is filled with Vietnamese women who actually have manicure kits. Like, they actually have licenses. They're real manicurists. I was like, oh no. So then I get in, and she's like, oh, can you, there's a scene partner there, and they're like, just like file her nails. I was like, oh my God. I think I actually hurt her. Like, she was like, I was like, I'm so sorry. And then they're like, okay, do you speak Vietnamese? And I'm like, what? And they were like, because the character has to speak Vietnamese. I'm like, oh, yep. Mm-hmm. And they're like, great, could you just riff a little in Vietnamese? And I'm like, and so I know 2 words in Mandarin. That is not Vietnamese. I said those 2 words over and over. They loved it. It was terrible. All right, so such an inappropriate story. Never do that. It was a long time ago. Okay.
And we are actually at 5:05. I don't know about the timing, but so keep going or no? Okay. Thank you all so much for coming and for taking part in the And thank you, Georgia. Yay.